Good morning, everybody. My name is Shelby. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my garden. So happy that you're here. I've got my Halloween themed mug in celebration of fall and the cooler weather. Right now it's about 68 degrees in Florida. That's because it's 7 a.m. It will get up to close to 90 later today, but I'm going to take that nice weather any second I can. I've got a lot to do in the garden today, so hang around with me. Let's get started. I also grabbed some more seeds while I'm out here just to be safe. You never know. Don't want to be out in the garden and be like, I need to put some cilantro there. You know what I'm saying? So got all my seeds just in case. All right, this is my water system. It's this like Gilmore automatic water, like timer water system. So I only have the 2 hose hookups for it, and I'd like to invest in a water system that has 4. The issue with these automatic timer systems for irrigation is this top part can definitely, it's like usually the first thing that breaks on them. So I've had one that's broken before, and the one that broke before was actually a metal like nozzle part at the top. This one's plastic. So I tried plastic this time, and the reason why this breaks for me so easily is because I'm constantly screwing it on, screwing it off, screwing it on and off, because it gets full of sediment constantly because we live on a well. So this one, because it's plastic, it's been a little bit more flexible. I'll include a link to it. It's working really well. I don't have any complaints about this system. It's my water that keeps getting it, you know, full of sediment. So I'm gonna hook up this water sediment filter. I purchased this with my own money. I don't know how good it's gonna be or not. It was a really affordable rate on Amazon, so I'll include a link below, because I can't keep coming out here every morning and clearing out the lines from like little like rust debris. I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm hoping that this will provide a solution, because it's basically supposed to have all the water filter in through this little area and you just kind of dump it out. So we shall see. I'll know really quickly because it fills up every single day. So typically this is what I do, like every morning. I unscrew it and I shake the top of it until all the sediment comes out, screw it back in. So I'm hoping that this little gadget that's really affordable, I think it's like around it was around $13 or $15, so I can't say the exact price because it changes all the time, will, you know, fix this problem I'm having. Before I get started, I need to turn off the main valve at the house, otherwise I'm gonna have water going everywhere. So I bought a whole house water spin down system that looks really similar to this, and that one's definitely more expensive. It's meant for your whole house. It has really good reviews, but we just haven't hooked it up because it looks really complicated and we just haven't had time with the kids. So that's why I got this, because I was like, this looks really simple. I can just do this really easily and have like a hopefully temporary solution to this very irritating problem I've been experiencing. I've got like a weird angle on this. This might be a little complicated. I think I'm gonna have to actually hook this up at the hose line closer to the house. Okay, so now I'm at the hose line that's near the house. This doesn't have anything that's gonna like make it so I can't screw this in. We're just gonna test this out. If it doesn't work, you know, it doesn't work, whatever. Just gonna screw this in. Again, I'm not doing any filters because I don't, that's what this whole thing is for. So I'm not adding any extra filters to like these areas. And you can just unscrew it from here, so you don't have to like damage your whole system. I don't know, we'll see if it can withstand the pressure, because I have the system on all the time. I really don't like messing with my water irrigation system, because whenever you mess with it, it takes like forever to fix it, because inevitably something goes wrong, and I get really sensitive about my garden's water irrigation system. Ask my husband. If you mess with it, I'm like, now I have to spend 30 minutes fixing this thing. That's what I'm doing right now, is messing with it, and hopefully I don't regret it later. Now I'm walking all the way over to the well, I guess, where all the water system is, everything. I don't really know all the professional terms for all this, but I'm walking over there. I'm gonna turn it on. I'll show you our system setup. You're probably gonna be like, either that's a good system or it's a bad system. I don't know what's good or bad with wells. All I know is that it's working. It's looking like there's no leaks anywhere as of right now. Alright, so I'm hooking this hose up for my soaker hoses that I got, which is just like a new irrigation system I'm trying out for the rows, the garden rows, instead of using like an oscillating overhead system. I think the overhead oscillating sprinklers, the impact sprinklers, are really good for if you have like a bunch of raised garden beds, so it's like kind of sporadically all throughout your garden. The rows, it's better to do some type of irrigation because it's pretty just like set in stone, like where it is type of thing, and it's better for plants to get that direct kind of like drip watering to them. So I'm gonna set up this hose and set up the soaker hose, and that as well I bought with my own money. It's not some type of sponsored thing. I just genuinely have these irrigation issues that I need to get resolved, because if you're somebody like me who's experiencing these same issues, then I hope this helps, because this is like totally, like I invest a lot of time and emotional effort into this garden. So when there's irrigation issues, I'm like so frustrated about it, especially when you want things to go really well and you're spending so much time on it. So we'll see if this soaker hose fixes the issue. This isn't the soaker hose, it's just a hose that hooks up to the soaker hose. And but it's pretty affordable. I'll link that as well and show you kind of how that works too. If you're new here, this is my lovely in-ground, no-till, no-dig raised garden bed that I'm so proud of. Y'all know I'm so proud of this garden. It's just fantastic. And if I had started with this in-ground garden like this, the no-till, like back to Eden method, I probably wouldn't have done half the raised garden beds that I've done. So that's a little bit of word to the wise. I just think they're so much easier and so much more manageable than raised garden beds. Only when they both have their pros and cons. I'll get into that in a different video. Alright, so I have the flat soaker hoses. These are 75 feet each. Again, I just got these with my own money because I have a genuine problem I need a solution for. So this is not sponsored, and I will give you my honest review after I've used them a little bit. I've really thought about this for a while. So it seems really straightforward, just kind of hooking it up from end to end and putting them where they need to go, which is a little bit more simplified than a drip irrigation system. The reason why I didn't initially want to do a drip irrigation system is because we have so much sediment in our water, and I thought this might be better with that, but then I also have the solution with the sediment filter, so we'll see what works. Pretty straightforward. If anything, I actually might set up some filters. I already have like 2 sets of filters up, so it should be fine. It's pretty straightforward. It's like basically hooking up any regular hose, except for this one just emits water. Now that is pretty cool. I did not expect it to work that well. I don't know. I don't really know what I expected, but Everywhere that the hose is turned on, there is a slow drip of water, which is so awesome, especially if you're growing like squash plants or anything like that, because you don't want a whole bunch of water just sitting on those leaves. And I was starting to water my plants at like 5 a.m. on a timer because because it was so hot that I felt like that was the only time of the day that the soil could really absorb the water. But also, the sun's not out, water was just sitting on top of those squash plants, the leaves, and it causes like powdery mildew and all types of diseases and things like that. So this makes it so I can water in the morning and the water gets directly at the roots instead of sitting on the leaves and also like in the middle of the rows and everything. I keep saying this, but every new little like addition to the garden makes me feel like I'm like a farmer or something. I'm so excited. I love this so much. I've dreamed about this like homestead coming together for years and years and years. It is so exciting to finally have like drip irrigation or soaker hose irrigation and raised beds everywhere and rows everywhere, and like so much room that I don't even know what to plant and where to plant it. So I'm just like putting a whole bunch of extra stuff out. It's so cool. Behind me, this is the opening of the garden. As you can see, there's 2 rose plants right there and 2 rose plants right there. My master plan is to have those rose bushes kind of tumbling over the top of the cattle panel trellis. That way we have this like beautiful, you know, rose structure arch to walk into in the garden. My husband got them for me for Mother's Day. Thank you so much. And my son. These metal beds used to be in the middle of the garden. I don't know if you could see them. And I moved them to the front because the middle of the garden was getting just like so much grass in those beds. So we've added like a really heavy layer of mulch. And what I'm gonna do instead of having these 2 beds in the middle is my goal is to find like a really nice cement table to put in the middle of the garden, so we have a nice place to sit. I've got a nice place to look at my seeds and, you know, harvest, put things on the table, things like that. So I'm on the lookout for a cement table like on Facebook Marketplace and things like that. And instead, with these metal beds that are at the front, which are full of things from a project that I was doing, I'm going to fill those up with flowers. So it's going to be like a rose arch at the front, and then just like seasonal flowers in those beds. So when you walk in, you're just like walking through a miniature field of flowers. So I need to do some pruning to my roses. I know like growing roses is a long life venture, and there are people who are specifically rose gardeners, and they invest a lot of effort into making their roses beautiful, of course. So I don't know if I'm gonna get that much into them, but I am gonna do whatever it takes to make them, you know, flow over the top. So I'm just trying to clean up this area because there's a lot of mulch, or because there's a lot of weeds and things like that growing around. I need to do some pruning too. We've gotten some nice rain the past few days, which is why I was trying to like sow seeds in a hurry, which I'm so thankful. I was coming out here like every night for like 10 minutes and just like putting as many seeds down as I could. I'm seeing a lot of sprouts, which is awesome, but the rose bushes are happy as well as a result. I need to pull all these weeds. The roses like a lot of mulch. I know there's a lot of, you know, specific rose fertilizer out there. What I'm gonna do is give them some fish fertilizer. I need to go to the store and just get like specific fish or rose fertilizer and everything. But the best thing to do for these types of plants is to mulch heavily. That way there's less weeds, less competition, more moisture is retained in the soil, and it's just gonna make your plants happier. And in general, heavy mulching for mature plants is gonna have really good results too. What I've got going on right now is I'm gonna grab my worm castings and I'm going to start setting them in places that I think like the plants need some help. I see a little bit of like blemishes on some of my Big Max pumpkins and some of my other squash, so I'm basically going to put them around you know, all of my squash and things like that. What I believe to be true, and people can say otherwise, is the worm castings really give the plant so much strength that they even consider it to be like kind of like an organic you know, pest deterrent. I wouldn't say pesticide because it's not, it's completely organic, it's just worm manure basically. So it just makes those plants so healthy with the amazing, you know, beneficial things that are found in worm castings, that they can really defend themselves against pests much better. Handful around all of my squash and things that would typically become susceptible to like pest you know, attacks. I feel like squash are really susceptible to that. I've been trying to grow like a mega huge pumpkin for a while now, so I want to do whatever it takes to make them happy, which is also a big motivation of why I got the drip irrigation, because I wanted to make sure they had access to all the water that they needed. So this is the Big Max pumpkin. They're supposed to be like 150 pounds or so. We'll see. So I'm going to just sprinkle them with a little bit of warm love. Spaghetti squash, which I absolutely love spaghetti squash, so good. If you're looking for like a good keto, like low carb option, spaghetti squash is a good option for you. Just getting this, giving them some loving. You can work the worm castings in the soil if you want, or just lay it on top. The beneficial vitamins are going to find their, you know, like basically fertilizing concepts are going to work either way. And I like it because it's a permanent amendment to the soil. You're really benefiting the soil in a permanent way, like I just said, as opposed to like these fertilizers that once they're used up, you're gonna have to keep fertilizing. And with how expensive fertilizer is, and just like how uncertain it is where fertilizer comes from, things like that, I really like worm castings. I feel like it's a more solid organic option that you can easily make at home for like basically no money. And it's just like a whole well-rounded concept in your house of creating like a composting system as well. You can also make worm tea out of it and spray that on the leaves to further protect from pests and just enrich the actual plant and soil. As you can see down here and around me in various different areas of the garden, we've got a lot of grass in the garden beds. That's one of the reasons why I say gardening in a raised garden bed can be really frustrating to me. Most people would think, oh, like gardening in a raised garden bed means less weeds. However, that's not always the case. I'm always battling the grass in these beds, and the only thing that really stops it for a few months is putting like a layer of cardboard down seasonally, and then putting like a really heavy layer of like mulch and then compost and things like that on top of it. So now with these raised beds, I'm forced you should do this anyways, but every winter, January or February, what we do is we do a layer of cardboard in the beds and then put our compost on top to prepare the garden for the springtime. And that really suffocates the grass, at least for a few months until summer really kicks in. And then I'm having to like pull a ton of weeds constantly, grass out of the beds again. So that's one of the reasons why I say like raised garden beds can be great for a lot of different things, but they can also be frustrating because once certain plants such as like grass sets in, or silver dollar weed, which was one of the reasons why I got rid of these raised beds here, because there was silver dollar weed, which is a really intricate root system, very hard to get rid of. Once those types of plants set in, it's really hard to get rid of them. Where I feel in the in-ground, like back to Eden method, it's a lot easier to maintain because you're just constantly mulching, and I don't know why it just hasn't been as much of an issue at all. I'm going to show you an update on the square foot garden that I was working on. That was in my last video. Just by a glance, you might be able to see that there's some stuff that has started to sprout. So I'm going to have to go through and thin things out once most everything has sprouted, then move those sprouts to other places. But so far it's really exciting and I love how it's turning out. I'm hoping that this bed's going to be super diverse and just full of basically like a full miniature garden. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it if you want to check it out. I'm going to plant a few more of these and some. I was just going to put this big moon pumpkin, just like throw it in the mulch pile over there, see what happens. If it works, it doesn't. Or if it doesn't, you know. And just do a few other things really quickly. You guys might be going, oh, why are you growing pumpkins right now? It's September and, you know, not really the time to grow pumpkins. For Florida, this is our only time to grow pumpkins. So we're not going to have like a seasonal like pumpkin patch, at least organically, according to myself, from what I've experienced. I'm sure you can do it, but anyways, this is the easiest time to do it. And even if it's not like seasonal, you know, like ready for Halloween or whatever, I still just want to see some big pumpkins. So the best pumpkins I've ever had grow are just like the ones that end up in the mulch somehow, like the seeds, mistakenly. So I'm just gonna throw these ones in random places and see what happens. This is that silver dollar weed I'm talking about. This not good stuff. I'm excited that there is definitely some cabbage sprouts and some cauliflower sprouts in here. And again, I need to pull some more weeds, but I do this like every single day. So anyways, I'm gonna plant some more bean seeds here. These are the burgundy beans, because that's a really fast crop. If you're looking for like a fast crop, it's gonna give you some actual like sustenance and be able to harvest off, grow some beans, any kind of beans, really. Garden beans that you can just clip off and saute, steam up, put in a casserole, you name it. So I'm gonna put some beans here. That way I know we always have something ready from the garden if other things aren't ready yet, you know, because some of this stuff takes a lot longer to grow, months, you know, to grow, to harvest and everything, so it can seem like a really long waiting game, which is why you'll want to plant some stuff in the meantime that's going to give you a feeling of, oh, I can like immediately start to harvest from this. So definitely get yourself some beans started, some like green beans or whatever, and then that way you can be a little more patient for like your squash. I've got the purple sprouting broccoli, which, as I was just saying, like sometimes you get a little, you know, hopeful to harvest things really quickly and it takes a while. So things like broccoli or cabbage or cauliflower can take a really long time, and when you harvest them they're like one and done, unless you're just eating the leaves, which is awesome too. But anyways, sprouting variety is great because you can kind of continue to harvest off them for a little bit as opposed to the other ones. So, and what's better than like a purple variety? So I'm just going to put some of that here. I also have a sprouting variety, like a typical like green one on the front end. So I'm just going like brassica crazy right now. So I just kind of put seeds down and then just brush it in, and that pretty much works out for me. So I'm just gonna brush that in a little bit. I am so glad I got that irrigation system set up and that little filter system. I don't want to have to keep coming out here every morning. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and getting some of those chores done with me. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. Again, my name is Shelby, and until next time, bye.